When Finesse2Tymes first came home, it felt like one of those rare rap comeback stories that was already written for success. He had the buzz, he had the authenticity, he had the pain in his voice, and most importantly, he had powerful people standing behind him. This wasn't a situation where he came home scrambling for a look. He was embraced, welcomed with open arms, private jets, big cosigns, real industry backing, and the kind of rollout that told the rap world one thing loud and clear: Finesse2Tymes was supposed to be a major player. And for a minute, it looked like everything was lining up exactly the way it was supposed to. But fast forward to today, and that same relationship that once looked like a blessing has now turned into one of the messiest label disputes in rap. Because now, instead of praising Mob Ties and J. Prince Jr. for helping relaunch his career, Finesse is online practically begging to get out of the situation.
I ain't showing you. I want out my contract too, bro. I don't want to be Mob Ties no more. I want my own shit. Let me go. Let me go, Junior.
He says the deal is bad, the label isn't helping him the way he expected, and the contract has become more of a cage than a partnership. On the other side, J. Prince Jr. and people around Mob Ties are making it sound like this is a man who got a real opportunity, blew through the money, and now wants somebody else to blame. And once you get into the details, this story becomes bigger than just one rapper being frustrated. Because this is really about what happens when an artist comes home desperate for a second chance, signs a deal based on loyalty and belief, and then finds out the music business doesn't run on emotions. It runs on paperwork, percentages, recoupment, and leverage. And once you sign the wrong contract, getting out of it can be a whole lot harder than getting in. So today, we're breaking down how Finesse2Tymes went from being Mob Ties' comeback star to openly feuding with J. Prince Jr., why he says the deal is holding him back, and how label contracts actually work behind the scenes. To understand why this fallout hit so hard, you first have to understand what Mob Ties represented to Finesse in the first place. This wasn't just some random business arrangement to him. From his own words, he believed he was stepping into a situation built on loyalty. He believed these were people that were supposed to understand him, understand where he came from, and most importantly, help guide him through an industry he admittedly wasn't educated on. Finesse has basically said that when he chose Mob Ties, he thought he was aligning himself with people who would help him build a brand, teach him the game, and put him in position long-term, not just throw him a bag and leave him to figure everything else out himself.
It was the help. I asked for support. I ain't asked for remorse. All my life I got out and made it happen. This ain't nothing but just a bigger platform to make it happen. But I can't do it by myself. And the label won't even do what they supposed to do.
To be fair, in the beginning, the optics looked incredible. He comes home from prison, gets the star treatment, gets the look, gets the machine behind him, and suddenly it feels like he's gone from being a street legend with potential to an artist who might actually turn that momentum into something major. That's the kind of thing that makes an artist feel like they picked the right side. That's the kind of environment that makes you think the people around you are invested in your future. But as time went on, the excitement started turning into frustration. Then frustration turned into public tension. Then public tension turned into a full-on feud. Now Finesse is saying he wants out. Not later, not eventually, right now. He's gone online repeatedly making it clear that he no longer wants to be tied to the situation. He says he can make the money back if they just let him go. He says the issue isn't even just the money anymore, but the fact that he feels stuck in a contract that stops him from moving the way he believes he should be moving.
I don't want to go to no another label with you. I love you. But I no longer want to be Mob Ties business-wise. I love all the Mob Ties street niggas. It's time for me a new look, Junior. It's time.
And that's where J. Prince Jr.'s side of the story starts to completely clash with Finesse's version of events. Because from their perspective, this is not the story of a starving artist being trapped by evil businessmen. Their message has basically been, you got money, you blew money, and now you want to turn poor decisions into somebody else's fault. That's why those posts and responses started getting so much attention, because J. Prince Jr. and those around him made it sound like Finesse had real money in his hands and simply mishandled it. They pushed the idea that there's no bigger victim on the internet than a man who blew through $1 million and is struggling to get it back. And when Finesse saw that, he didn't back down, he doubled down. He responded by saying yes, he blew millions, but plenty of artists have blown millions. His problem is that when other artists lost money, their labels didn't leave them for dead. From his point of view, the issue is not that he made mistakes, it's that the label didn't continue to support him the way he thought they would.
And now, you telling me to look in the mirror. Yeah, I lost it, but you always can get it back. That's the whole game of life. You win some, you lose some, nigga. So what the f is you talking about losing money for? Haven't you lost money? Haven't you made it? Okay, we all have. That ain't the point.
And honestly, that's where this becomes interesting, because both things can be true at the same time. Finesse can absolutely have wasted money. He can absolutely have overspent, made bad decisions, and failed to maximize the hottest stretch of his comeback. But it can also still be true that the deal itself was bad, restrictive, or structured in a way that left him with far less control than he expected. Those are not mutually exclusive ideas. In rap, a bad deal and bad decisions often go hand in hand. An artist gets a big advance, spends like the money is theirs free and clear, doesn't understand recoupment, doesn't understand percentages, and by the time they realize what's really going on, they're already locked in. And that brings us to the most important part of the whole situation: how these label deals actually work. Because when a rapper says, "they gave me a bad deal," a lot of fans hear that and think it simply means the artist didn't get paid enough. But usually it's deeper than that. In a lot of cases, especially when there's a label, a management type structure, and a bigger distributor involved, the artist is not just signed to one clean, simple agreement. There can be multiple layers in the deal, multiple entities getting paid, multiple people taking percentages before the artist ever really sees what they thought they were earning. And according to the contract breakdowns in the material you provided, one of the big issues people pointed to in Finesse's situation was that the structure allegedly split money between Mob Ties, J Prince Entertainment, and the artist himself, with the artist's cut being much smaller than casual fans probably assume when they hear somebody got a big deal.
3.5 is going to go to the artist, okay? Now, usually the production company is going to collect all monies and then they distribute it, so they're going to have some administrative people. 35% also goes to the company, so 3.5 million would go to, you know, the books of Mob Ties Entertainment. And it's kind of interesting because they now add something called J Prince Entertainment, which I thought James Prince Jr. owns Mob Ties. So basically it's kind of like double dipping. So if I'm to combine company and JPE, because even if it's the father and the son, or maybe it's the son, and here's the thing, this might be a nasty finesse here, if the son is acting like he's the manager.
That's why advances confuse so many rappers. An advance is not a gift. It is not free money. It is not a reward for being talented. It is more like a loan against what the label hopes you will earn in the future. So if a label gives an artist a big upfront check, that doesn't mean the artist is now in profit. That means the label expects to get its money back, and not just the advance. We're talking marketing, promo, video budgets, travel, radio push, recording costs, sometimes tour support, sometimes other expenses tied to the project. That all gets recouped. So when people hear they gave him $1 million, that doesn't automatically mean he pocketed $1 million and then every dollar after that was his. In many cases, it means he got access to money that still had to be earned back before the real back end starts flowing properly.
And all that I hate when people say, oh, he bought a jet, brought him on a jet, and all came and got you, and I paid for that. See, I ain't know that I was paying for all that. I paid for it. I ain't know that at first though. I ain't know that until I got the paperwork, and then they were like, oh, you gotta pay. I'm like, damn, I thought that was just off the love and the loyalty.
Then you get into royalty splits, and that's where things get even uglier for artists who aren't educated on the business. If multiple companies are eating off the deal and the artist only gets a fraction after recoupment, then the artist can be outwardly successful and still feel broke compared to the image they're expected to maintain. And that matters in rap more than almost any other genre, because rap is a status-based business. Jewelry, cars, entourages, houses, clothes, travel, all of that costs money. So if an artist gets hot and starts living like a superstar before understanding how much of that success is actually liquid, that's when the trap starts closing. The career looks bigger than the bank account. The fame outruns the cash flow. And once that happens, the artist starts feeling like everybody else is eating except them. That's basically the emotional core of Finesse's side of the story. He sounds like somebody who expected partnership, mentorship, and long-term building, but instead ended up feeling like he got funding without real guidance. He's flat out said that he thought they were going to teach him the game. He thought they were going to help him build his own brand. Instead, he now talks like a man who believes he's signed into dependency. A man who feels like the system around him benefited from his momentum more than he did.
$30,000 a night, Airbnbs, nigga. You niggas. I don't like you, niggas. I despise you. I don't like you, niggas.
But if we're being real, this is also where some accountability has to come in. Because one theme that keeps coming up in the material you shared is that people around this story believe Finesse simply did not maximize the opportunity the way he should have. The criticism is that he overspent, got distracted, made emotional decisions, kept getting into chaos, and didn't move like somebody planning for longevity. That kind of criticism might sound harsh, but it points to a very real problem a lot of artists face. They come into the industry with talent, pain, authenticity, and demand, but no financial literacy, no real business education, and no understanding of how quickly a hot run can cool off. And that's why stories like this keep repeating themselves in rap. The label thinks the artist is irresponsible. The artist thinks the label is greedy. The truth is usually somewhere in the middle. The label probably did structure the deal in a way that heavily protected itself. That's what labels do. But the artist also probably signed without fully understanding what being protected by the machine actually costs. Because the machine does not move for free. The machine wants ownership. The machine wants leverage. The machine wants control over how and when you release music. And once that machine decides you are no longer a priority, being signed can feel worse than being independent. That's another part of this story that really stands out. Finesse keeps pushing the point that he doesn't feel like they're actually helping him enough to justify keeping him locked in. And that's one of the most frustrating places an artist can be. Because if a label is actively spending money, opening doors, and pushing records, then even if the split is ugly, at least the artist can see the value. But when an artist feels like the label is not fully pushing, not fully supporting, and still won't let them go, that's when it starts to feel like hostage business. Even commentators in the material you shared made that distinction. Not everything is the label's fault, but if a label won't really invest in you and also won't free you up, that's a terrible place to be. Well, on one hand, he still has something most artists would kill for. He's still a name, still a personality, still somebody people pay attention to. He's entertaining, he can rap, and he clearly knows how to keep people watching. On the other hand, that only matters if he can turn attention into stable motion. Because attention without structure is exactly how artists end up in these situations in the first place. If he gets out of the deal, then the next chapter becomes simple. Can he actually rebuild on his own terms? Can he make money without the machine he now resents? Can he prove that the contract was the main thing holding him back? Or will this whole situation end up proving that the machine mattered more than he wanted to admit? At the end of the day, this feud isn't just about Finesse2Tymes and J Prince Jr. It's about one of the oldest stories in rap. An artist comes in with hunger. A company comes in with money. The artist thinks he's signing to a team. The company thinks it's making an investment. The artist wants guidance. The company wants returns. And by the time the music slows down and the money gets funny, both sides feel played. Finesse thought Mob Ties was going to help him build a future. Mob Ties seems to think they gave him a real shot and he fumbled it. And somewhere between those two stories is the truth. A truth written not just in emotion, but in contracts, percentages, recoupment clauses, and the brutal reality that in rap, the paperwork always matters more than the promises.